Did you know there's a town in Kentucky where a dog serves as mayor? Or that one of the world's strangest weather events involved chunks of meat literally falling from the sky? And if that wasn't weird enough, Kentucky is home to a family that became famous for having naturally blue skin. Most people think of Kentucky and immediately picture horse racing, bourbon, fried chicken, and rolling green hills. And sure, all of that is true. But beneath that charming southern image lies a state packed with bizarre stories, strange people, mysterious places, and events that sound completely made up. Today we're diving into Kentucky, weird, wild, and unexpected, and trust me, some of these stories are so unbelievable that if they happened anywhere else, nobody would believe them. Stick around because the final story might just be the strangest thing ever recorded in American history. And before we jump in, my friend said I won't get subscribers. Let's prove them wrong. If you enjoy weird stories, unusual history, and discovering places most people never talk about, hit that subscribe button and let's keep exploring together. Let's start underground. Kentucky is home to Mammoth Cave, the largest known cave system on Earth. Not in America, not in North America, the entire world. More than 400 miles of passages have already been mapped, and experts believe there are still hundreds more miles waiting to be discovered. Think about that for a second. There could be entire underground chambers beneath Kentucky that nobody has ever seen. That's both fascinating and slightly terrifying. Imagine buying a house and finding out there's an unexplored cave network the size of a small country underneath your backyard. Kentucky's ground is basically Swiss cheese with trees on top. And speaking of strange things hidden beneath the surface, the next story involves a man who never made it back out. In 1925, cave explorer Floyd Collins became trapped deep inside a narrow cave passage while searching for new tourist attractions. What happened next became one of America's first media frenzies. Thousands of people showed up. Reporters arrived from across the country. Vendors sold food to spectators. It was almost like a carnival built around a tragedy. Rescuers worked desperately to save him, but after days trapped underground, Collins died before they could reach him. The entire nation followed the story, and many historians believe it helped create modern disaster journalism. It's a heartbreaking story, but it also shows how Kentucky's caves have shaped some of the state's most unforgettable moments. Now, let's go from tragic to completely ridiculous. Welcome to Rabbit Hash, Kentucky. Population, tiny, fame, massive. Why? Because they elect dogs as mayor. I'm serious. For decades, residents have held elections where dogs run for office. Past mayors have included a black lab, a border collie mix, and several other canine candidates. Now, technically the position is ceremonial, but let's be honest. A dog mayor might still outperform a surprising number of politicians. At least when a dog ignores your concerns, it's because he spotted a squirrel, and somehow that isn't even Kentucky's strangest claim to fame. Around the early 1800s, a family known as the Fugits lived in the hills of eastern Kentucky. Due to a rare genetic condition, many family members developed blue-colored skin, not slightly blue, actually blue. Visitors described seeing people with deep blue complexions walking through the mountains. Naturally, stories spread quickly. Some thought it was folklore. Others thought it was a curse. Turns out it was science. A rare inherited blood condition caused the unusual appearance. Still, imagine meeting someone in the woods 200 years ago who looked blue from head to toe. You're not thinking genetics. You're probably running the other direction. Now, if blue people sound strange, wait until you hear about Kentucky's most famous psychic. Edgar Case was born near Hopkinsville and became known as the Sleeping Prophet. His method was unusual. He would enter a trance-like sleep and then begin giving medical advice, spiritual readings, predictions, and discussions about ancient civilizations. And not just any civilization, Atlantis. Case became obsessed with the legendary lost continent. He claimed Atlantis possessed advanced technology, flying machines, and incredible knowledge thousands of years ago. According to him, survivors from Atlantis helped influence ancient civilizations after their homeland disappeared. Whether you believe him or not, you've got to admit Kentucky producing a sleeping psychic obsessed with Atlantis wasn't on your bingo card today. If you're still watching, comment Kentucky below because things are about to get even stranger. Now let's visit one of America's most famous haunted locations, Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Even the name sounds like it belongs in a horror movie. Originally built to treat tuberculosis patients, the facility witnessed thousands of deaths during an era when medicine had few answers. Today it's considered one of the most haunted places in America. Ghost hunters travel from around the world, hoping to capture evidence of paranormal activity. Some claim they've heard voices. Others report seeing shadowy figures. Personally, If I walk into an abandoned hospital at midnight and hear something whisper my name, I'm not investigating. I'm setting a new world record in sprinting. But Kentucky isn't done being creepy. Near Munfordville sits Kentucky Stonehenge. Yes, Kentucky has its own version of Stonehenge. Unlike the original monument in England, this one was built by a local artist who spent years hauling massive rocks into place. You have to admire the commitment. Most people get a hobby like gardening or fishing. This guy apparently woke up one morning and thought, you know what this property needs? Giant stone monuments. And somehow he pulled it off. The result is one of Kentucky's most unusual roadside attractions and proof that determination can sometimes look a little eccentric. Now here's a story that sounds like something straight out of science fiction. In 2014, a massive sinkhole suddenly opened beneath the National Corvette Museum in Bowling Green. The ground literally collapsed. 8 priceless Corvettes disappeared into the hole. Imagine walking into a car museum and discovering the floor decided it was hungry. Fortunately, the cars were eventually recovered, but the event became international news. Only in Kentucky can a museum wake up one morning and find that geology has declared war on sports cars. But Kentucky's relationship with weird natural events doesn't stop there. Near bourbon distilleries, a mysterious black fungus often appears on buildings, trees, fences, and cars. Locals call it whiskey fungus. The fungus feeds on ethanol released during the whiskey-making process. So while tourists are enjoying smooth bourbon tastings, nearby homeowners are occasionally wondering why their house suddenly looks like it survived an encounter with Batman. It's harmless in most cases, but it's definitely one of those strange Kentucky things that sounds made up until you see it yourself. And now we arrive at one of the state's most colorful characters, Hunter S. Thompson. Born in Louisville, Thompson became one of America's most famous writers and the creator of gonzo journalism. His reporting style was simple. Don't just cover the story. Become part of it. Sometimes that worked brilliantly, sometimes it produced absolute chaos, but that's exactly why people loved him. Even after his death, Thompson remained unconventional. His final wish was to have his ashes blasted from a giant cannon during a fireworks display. And that's exactly what happened. Friends and celebrities gathered as fireworks exploded and his ashes were launched into the sky. Honestly, if you're famous for being unpredictable, that's a pretty fitting exit. But somehow we still haven't reached Kentucky's strangest story. For that, we need to go back to March 3rd, 1876. A quiet day in Bath County suddenly became one of the weirdest days in American history, because meat started falling from the sky. Actual meat. Witnesses reported chunks of red flesh raining down over a large area. People collected samples, scientists investigated, newspapers covered the event, and nobody could fully explain it. One theory suggested vultures flying overhead may have regurgitated partially digested meat, which somehow manages to be both disgusting and slightly reassuring, because the alternative is much harder to explain. Nearly 150 years later, the Kentucky meat shower remains one of the strangest documented events ever recorded in the United States. And honestly, that's probably a title Kentucky isn't giving up anytime soon. So let's review. A dog mayor, blue-skin families, a sleeping prophet obsessed with Atlantis, the world's largest cave system, a haunted hospital, cars swallowed by the earth, whiskey fungus, a cannon-fired farewell, and a mysterious rainstorm made entirely of meat. If someone pitched all of these stories as a movie script, you'd tell them to make it more realistic. Yet every single one happened in Kentucky. Maybe that's what makes this state so fascinating. Just when you think you've figured it out, Kentucky throws another bizarre story your way and reminds you that reality is often stranger than fiction. If you enjoyed this journey through Kentucky's weird, wild, and unexpected side, make sure you subscribe, leave a like, and share this video with someone who thinks they know everything about America. And tell me in the comments, which state, city, or country should we explore next? Until next time, stay curious, stay adventurous, and remember, sometimes the strangest stories are the true ones.